cold blue light pressed against my closed eyelids. The steady clang, clang, clang of metal striking stone echoed through the darkness, vibrating up through the cold, damp floor beneath my back. My head throbbed like I'd spent the night doing heavy deadlifts, chased them with cheap vodka, and then gotten hit by a baseball bat to the head. I groaned and forced my eyes open. Rough wooden scaffolding, curved stone walls of a wide tunnel. A few feet to my right, the ground dropped away into a black crevasse that seemed to plunge forever. Dim lanterns hung at regular intervals, their blue flames flickering with an unnatural steadiness. No smoke, no oil, no visible fuel source, just pure, constant light. What the actual fuck, I muttered, voice hoarse in the huge space. I sat up slowly, rubbing the back of my neck. The last clear memory I had was standing in my empty dorm room at Boston University, staring at the stripped mattress and the half-packed boxes. I'd just graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering. Tomorrow, I was supposed to drive home to California. Mom had already texted 3 times about the graduation dinner. I'd been throwing the last of my clothes into a duffel bag when the dizziness hit. Now I was underground in some kind of fantasy mine that smelled of damp stone, metallic dust, and a faint ozone tang I couldn't place. I pushed myself to my feet on shaky legs and started walking, one hand trailing along the cold wall for balance. My engineer brain kicked in hard, dissecting everything just to keep the panic from taking over. The scaffolding was surprisingly well designed, load-bearing beams spaced consistently every 8 to 10 feet, solid cross-bracing, pinned joints. Someone here actually understood structural integrity. I looked down, both shoes still on my feet. The tunnel curved and branched in multiple directions. I followed the distant sound of pickaxes, but every time I thought I was getting closer, the noise faded again, replaced by frustrating echoes. "Hey!" I shouted, cupping my hands around my mouth. "Anybody down here? Can someone please tell me where the hell I am?" I'd been walking for at least an hour. Nothing. No one was coming. The dread of that thought crept minute by minute. My voice echoed for several long seconds. Silence answered at first. Then a gruff reply came from somewhere up ahead.
What in the stone's name are you yelling about, lad? You lost or just plain stupid?
"I'm not stupid," I called back. "I'm lost. I don't know how I got here."
Well, these tunnels ain't no sightseeing tour. You hear me?
Relief hit so hard my knees almost buckled. I broke into a jog toward the voice. "I don't know where I am. I just woke up here and nothing makes any sense." A short, powerfully built figure stepped out from a side passage, lantern raised high. He barely reached my chest, but his shoulders and arms were thick with dense muscle. A long, fiery red beard hung to his belt, neatly braided with small metallic beads that caught the blue light. He wore a heavy, dust-stained mining jumpsuit, reinforced at the knees and elbows, and sturdy black leather boots caked in ore dust and mud.
Name's Griff Longbeard. You're standing in the grand tunnels of Giabrand, the largest mining operation on the entire continent. Now, who are you? And how'd you get down here without a crew?
Giabrand? My stomach dropped. "I'm not in Boston anymore, am I? This isn't Massachusetts. This isn't even Earth, is it?" Griff noticed the panic in my eyes, and his bushy eyebrows rose.
Boston? Massachusetts? Never heard of either of those places, lad. You take a bad fall down a shaft, hit your head real good on the way down?
A cold wave of pure panic crashed over me. My heart hammered against my ribs. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cool air. This wasn't a dream. The rough stone under my boots was too solid. The air tasted of minerals, dust, and faint ozone. My black Adidas tracksuit was still the same one I'd worn the day before, now filthy with tunnel grime. I forced the fear down. Focus on what's in front of you. I stuck out my hand with the most confident grin I could manage. "James Ryder, nice to meet you, Griff. Sorry for yelling like an idiot." Griff studied my hand for a second, then clasped my forearm in a crushing grip that made my bones creak. His eyes suddenly widened as they landed on the back of my left hand.
By the Stone Father's hammer, you've got both a crest and a rune? Never seen a human with the pair before. That's rare. How in the deep veins did a lad like you end up with marks like these?
I pulled my hand back and stared at the two glowing marks on my skin. I hadn't even noticed them when I woke up. One swirled with shifting, colorful light. The other was sharp, angular, and pulsed with light blue energy. They definitely hadn't been there the night before. I swear these weren't here before, I said, flexing my fingers. They tingled faintly, like a mild electric current. I have no idea what they are or how I got them.
Well, you're a long way from whatever home you came from, lad. Come on, let's get you out of these lower tunnels before you wander into a collapsed shaft or worse. The capital, Astoria, is where you need to be. A beautiful place, grand white stone towers, wisteria groves blooming year round, markets full of everything you could imagine.
Wait, I cut in. Is there any technology? Phones? Internet?
No idea what you're talking about, lad. Never mind all that techno net you keep spouting. Those marks need registering right away. People with magical aptitude don't get to wander unregistered, especially not with the wastelanders causing trouble on the borders.
Wastelanders? I asked, falling into step beside him. My longer legs forced me to slow my pace to match his stout, powerful stride.
Polluters, destroyers of the land. They twist the earth, poison rivers, summon foul things, and leave nothing but ruin behind them. The marked ones, humans like you and dwarves like me, are the only ones who can really stand against them in the long run. But that's a heavy conversation for after you've seen daylight again and had a proper drag from my pipe. For now, just try not to touch anything that's glowing too brightly.
We walked for what felt like miles through branching tunnels and mining shafts. Griff pointed out different ore veins as we passed, thick silver seams sparkling in the lantern light, clusters of glowing crystals embedded in the rock, strange shimmering metals I'd never seen before. I kept my engineer mind busy analyzing the infrastructure to stay grounded. The supports were consistent throughout. The lighting was smart too. Consistent coverage, no dark zones, lanterns positioned to minimize shadows for the workers. The mining sounds grew louder the farther we went. I caught glimpses of other dwarves and a few humans working in side chambers, but Griff kept us moving. Eventually, the tunnel opened into a truly massive underground depot that made my jaw drop. It looked like someone had crossed the London Underground with an ancient cathedral. Huge platforms carved directly from living stone, long trains of reinforced ore cars loaded high with metal ingots and raw gems, workers shouting orders as they loaded cargo. The entire place hummed with quiet, organized activity. The freight system was seriously impressive. Heavy duty cars on perfectly aligned rails cut straight into the stone. Minimal vibration, even when fully loaded. The engineering here was on another level, more efficient than anything I'd studied back home. I didn't see an engine. Instead, there was a crystal with a lattice of wire running the entire length of the train. Bizarre. Griff spoke briefly with the conductor. Apparently, he'd once pulled the man's brother out of a dangerous cave in. The conductor yelled over the noise of carts being loaded. Griff, you and the human lad climb in over here with me. He pointed to the caboose. We climbed in. The car was surprisingly comfortable for a freight hauler, padded benches along one wall and a small iron stove in the corner that kept the chill away. We settled in as the train began its long, steady climb upward through the mountain. The wheels clacked rhythmically over the rails. The loaded ore cars ahead of us groaned under their burden. For the first 10 minutes, I just stared out the small window, watching the dark rock walls slide past, occasionally broken by glowing crystal veins. My mind was still spinning. Eventually, I turned to Griff, who was calmly smoking a short pipe filled with something that smelled like sweet herbs. Griff, I've got a million questions, I said. Mind if I ask while we ride?
I figured ye would. Fire away, lad. Long ride ahead.
I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. First, what's the political climate like here? Is there a king, maybe a republic? Are we at war? You mentioned wastelanders a few times. How bad is it really?
Aye, there's a king, King Eldric the Third, up in the Capitol Palace. Good man, as far as kings go, been ruling for nearly 400 years. The realm's called the Kingdom of Giabrand, and for the most part, it's stable. But the Wastelanders, they're the real problem. They control the blighted lands to the east and south, pollute everything they touch. Their rulers are tyrants who twist nature and people alike. We've been in a stalemate for decades, skirmishes, raids, the occasional big battle. The marked ones, like you, are the only thing keeping them from overrunning us. That's why the school and the military are so serious about registration.
I nodded, absorbing that. What if I don't go to this magic school? Because that seems a bit.
You'll be found and dragged there anyway, or thrown in jail until you agree. Better to go willingly.
I swallowed. All right. Next question. What are dwarves like? You're the first one I've ever met. Are all of you miners?
Not all, but most of us love stone and metal the way you humans love ale and women. We're stubborn, loyal, and we live a long time, even without a mark or a rune. I'm only 1,050, still middle-aged. Our clans run deep mines, forge the best weapons and armor, and build things that last millennia. We don't trust easily, but once you've earned it, you've got a friend for life. We also hold grudges longer than most mountains stand. You'll like us. We make good drinking partners. Oh, and we have our own king and queen as well. Everything in the mountain here is dwarf territory. Everything outside is Astoria.
I smiled despite everything. Good to know, and magic. I glanced down at the glowing marks on my hand. I still don't understand any of this. What is it, really? How does it work?
Magic's in the blood and the soul. There are different kinds. Humans get a crest, raw arcane power. Dwarves get runes. They're for structured, enduring magic, good for enchanting and protection. Elves have their own nature-based stuff, and I haven't a clue what else they do with it. Having both like you, that's something else entirely. The crest is like a wild river, lots of force, but you've got to learn to direct it or it'll drown you. Runes are like the stone channels that guide the water. Together, you could do things most people only dream about, but it takes training. Usually, when children reach puberty, they receive the mark and start to slowly get a handle on it. They take a couple of classes in school for it. The Arcanum Academy will teach you control, theory, combat application. Without that, you'll burn yourself out or worse.
What about my rune? I asked. You're a dwarf, and you have one too.
Looks like yours is dormant. I can tell it doesn't have much magic running through it yet. Don't worry, lad. That's okay. You just got here. It probably needs some time before it wakes up.
I flexed my fingers again, watching the soft glow. So these marks just appeared on me. Does that happen often? People waking up in random places with magic suddenly?
Never heard of it. Most folks are born with the potential, and like I said, marks appear around puberty. You showing up fully marked as an adult with no memory? That's new. Makes me think the gods are back or something.
That last part didn't sit right. I pushed it aside. The train rattled around a bend, and for a moment the glow of crystal veins lit up the car like daylight. I sat back, processing everything. Last question for now, I said. What should I expect in Astoria? Any tips for not dying on day one?
Keep your head down at first. Don't flash those marks everywhere. Get some proper clothes. That black outfit of yours stands out like a sore thumb. And watch your coin purse in the lower districts. Astoria is beautiful, but that doesn't mean there's no trouble.
I nodded slowly. Those words rang true even where I was from. The weight of everything was starting to settle on my shoulders, but talking to Griff made it feel slightly more manageable. So, do you have any questions for me? It's not fair that I do all the asking.
Not really. Judging from your lack of common knowledge here, you must be from some backwater town, as the humans round here say. No offense, lad, but that's how I see it.
I was taken aback by the blunt honesty. I'm actually from a big city, and I've had a lot of schooling on top of that. The train continued its long climb. For the rest of the ride, we fell into a more comfortable silence, broken only by the occasional bump and screech of the rails. By the time we finally emerged into daylight, I felt like I had at least a few answers in this insane new world. The cleanest air I had ever breathed rushed over me as we stepped onto the surface platform. No pollution, just crisp mountain wind carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers. My eyes adjusted to the sun. The capital of Astoria lay just ahead in all its glory. Griff clapped me hard on the back.
Welcome to Giabrand, James Ryder. Try not to get yourself killed on the first day.